Wait, who's gonna introduce us here? Like,
Hi, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, or whenever you hear this to the Coffee and Controller podcast. Yay! We now have even more stuff to talk about that's longer than 1 minute of your damn TikTok algorithm.
I'm just excited to get more of my opinions out there.
Brad's terrible opinions are going to permeate our
I think you guys
airwaves.
love Brad more than you love me. And you get to see Saeed's face this
They
time.
don't love Brad yet. They said he's nogal alright.
Yeah, just nogal alright.
I'll take it.
He's building a cult. That's what's happening. It's nogal alright. Then it's like, nah, he's a lekker bruh. And then next thing they following him and worshipping him on some altar.
Accepted by the people.
That's the ultimate goal. That's why I wanted to start.
we Brad's BE quota of Rasa. So today we are talking about
We're doing Game of the Year, so we're continuing our old content. Like we used to do a Game of the Year segment on YouTube and stuff. So we're tailoring it now to a podcast. That's all that's happening. And this year we're looking at 1997. But before we get into that, I want to ask this. How are you guys feeling about that Activision Blizzard takeover, like finally happening?
I own an Xbox, so I'm very happy.
You happy.
I'm
You
very
obviously happy.
I do not care. Simply because it just means that we must get more better things. That's what it all means. Again, that's all big money. That big money doesn't concern my money. So I just go, okay, merge, go make marriage, go make money, but just give us better games and on time. That's the other thing. Sometimes these companies need managers to sort out who must get the game done.
They must come out with, like, I think it's good. I think it's good for the industry. I think it's good for Microsoft. I think they need a big studio like Activision Blizzard to kind of help them push more first party titles.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they have been struggling. And yeah, I think it's just good, and it'll make competition compete again, man.
Also,
like, let's innovate again.
You must have people that make games. I don't need my operator to make games for me. Like, if Windows must make Windows, Activision make games, please.
Away. And
also, let's talk about who's who in the zoo, because now they can actually see the two of them also on the other
they're
side.
not just like weird voices in the background.
That is Saeed with the highlighter on his cock. We have Brad with a perfect fade in the mix. When did you get the fade?
Yesterday?
Clean.
Nah, he waited, he knew, he had the
I knew
feeling.
it.
When you look good, you feel good. And you, Shadley, where's your fade?
Nah, my fade is not in. I need it for winter, man. I'm Maria. I get cold. I need to put on whatever I can to keep the heat in.
The disrespect. So let's go back to 1997.
Yeah, so 1997, I think this is like the year where like gaming was starting to like really expand. Everything is set in motion. But like, let's just drop some pop culture moments, because we had Buffy the Vampire Slayer drop.
Damn.
I think we all watched that on open time. For those who are lucky enough, you had Mnet, so you had extended open time.
I'm still watching Buffy now on Disney Plus, so
Is Buffy as good as what we remember?
it's better than you remember.
Really?
In some ways. In other ways, it's terrible, but in some ways, it's better than you remember.
I'm assuming like the visuals are not, they didn't age as well.
I like the way the vampires look, but the CGI, anything to do with computers at that point
Was bad.
It's
Buffy
97.
was also of the first shows that I feel like they went to folklore, and they actually researched all the bad guys that
the
they
monsters. Yeah, they kind of created like their own in-universe thing where they were like, let's take all the scooters and do all the things.
Actual vampire lore.
But
Then
also-
what else did we have?
We also had Titanic that dropped. Well, quite literally dropped. Hercules came out that year. Disney's Hercules.
Who puts the her in her? Hercules.
It's a gladiator.
Okay, yeah, you know what I mean.
And then MIB also dropped that year. So
Wow.
we had some bangers.
What a great year for content.
For cinema, I watched all of those in the movies, bro. Like,
I actually remember watching
good.
Titanic in the Bioscope. Bioscope. And it was a 2-part movie.
Yeah.
You had to
You
go
know,
watch
there was
it.
intermission.
You watched 3/4 and then they were like, oh, you must leave for 10 minutes. You must come back. Go to
Take
the
a break, go
bathroom.
pee, go do that,
Go
come
buy
back.
more drinks, come back.
I just want to say you guys are super old. I was 2 in 1997.
Yo, we are recording on Mandela Day, and for Mandela Day, we are getting rid of Saeed because he was post Mandela.
He's disrespecting his elders here. Mandela would not have wanted that.
Post Mandela is also a South African rapper.
And then the final thing we had for pop culture was Tamagotchis.
Wow.
We had Tamagotchis, which I remember our school used to confiscate that because we were like, no, you can't look after things. You can't be responsible at school. You must be responsible at home.
Don't be a parent to your homework.
Don't be a preteen, a child parent. Like,
Yeah. Did you have a Tamagotchi?
yeah,
Yo,
Tamagotchi.
we have from Brad's Bins, we have a Tamagotchi from Brad's Bins. If you guys have watched any of the other episodes, to the people of the listening to the podcast, you'll see in Brad's Bins, Brad's parents loved him and kept everything from his childhood. And
so we have our entire childhood, like not just his childhood, our entire childhood it's in that bin.
so
Like,
we got, in Brad's Bins, we got a Tamagotchi. So it's
it's actually wild. Like,
does it still
because-
work?
No, it's like a fossil now. It used to be a dinosaur. It's now like just a bone.
Shame.
No, it doesn't.
But can
work.
you
probably
how-
use a new battery?
It probably does need a new battery. Maybe can somebody tell us where we can get the Tamagotchi battery? It's probably like a normal
Yeah,
one of those
watch
flat
that.
batteries. We must try and fix it.
What else?
But now I wanna get into, like, as we said, we're gonna get into like our game of the year. But I wanna go through like the top 10 games of the year. And like 97, another big year for gaming. And I think at the time we didn't realize, because like the top 10 games as per ChatGPT, because I'm lazy to do like individual research. We got Final Fantasy VII, GoldenEye 007,
Wow.
Star Fox 64, Gran Turismo, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, Fallout, Tomb Raider 2, Age of Empires, Quake 2, and Mario Kart 64.
It was a big year for N64, firstly.
Yeah.
I feel like all those, like, what's it, 60% of that is
Yeah, like
N64.
there's a lot there that's like GoldenEye, Star Fox, Mario Kart 64. Well, the N64 dropped like the previous year, so they were just
Yeah.
what is that, second year of PlayStation? Is that what we have?
yeah, it's like the second year of PlayStation, so it's like really getting into the console wars. And I think the Sega Saturn was also out, but they were like trying to push the Dreamcast next.
I know
And-
nothing of the N64 games, of those ones. I only know that GoldenEye had a banging soundtrack. That's the one thing that the internet will not
Take
let
away.
go, is that the N64 soundtrack was always fire.
But here's the thing, talking about GoldenEye, do you know that was rated like across the board as like Game of the Year? Because it was like one of those FPSs that took it to console and just kind of took it to another level. Like the FPS like evolved with GoldenEye. Don't play it now though, because didn't age so liquor.
I tried to even play it. It came out on Game Pass.
Oh,
Like
no.
A remake. Or a remaster, should I say, not a remake. No.
No.
Leave it in the past. Leave it in the past, definitely.
Let it die.
Those hard faces.
Yeah.
Oh, it was the same like with Tomb Raider and those hard faces and that
It's
hard
either like
boobs.
triangular, no? Or it's like blocks, and it's like flat, and you're like, But back then, that was like, that was state of the art.
Yeah, we looked at those things going, this is
This is
amazing.
this is the pinnacle. Like we can't get better than that. And yeah, like I mean, if we expand on that, so we look at some honorable mentions: MDK, GTA, Abe's Odyssey, Carmageddon, Mortal Kombat 4, Worms 2, Crash Bandicoot 2, are just like that's like honorable mentions. And
Those are bangers. Those are all within their own spaces. I feel like Game of the Year.
those could be rotated into like
Yeah.
top 10 easily.
That almost shows you like that, like we said, N64 was the pinnacle and PlayStation was kind of finding its feet because all of those, or almost all of those, are like PlayStation only,
Yeah.
or like PlayStation and PC.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then you see how like then afterwards, then PlayStation is on top from probably 99,
Nine-
or
98, 98, 99, I'd assume it like really took off.
Basically, the sequels to all those games you gave us
Yeah, it is.
was like the proper winners that came through. for
Like I said,
PlayStation.
no, they were like, now we can't give it to a sequel. Let's give it to the new things. But it's wild because it's like GTA. GTA is now one of the biggest franchises.
What is that GTA?
That's one.
Top down.
Yeah, that's top down.
Did GTA 1 come out with London?
London came out like a year later, or it was London 1969, and then they just sold it as a pack. And I think we got it later because we got everything.
We got
like,
them also as separate. This was also in a time when we never understood when games got released. Games would just come to us. We never knew what was being released. We never even knew of magazines in 1997 that game magazines existed.
Yeah.
We would just go, oh, here's a thing. It's the same like we would watch like a pirate movie and
just
then
be like,
only just be released years later or like months
and you're just
later.
like, oh, I watched that.
You
Yeah,
never,
we didn't know. Like, I mean, I'm guessing for all of us, nah, except Saeed, because he was a baby then. Was like, you go to a shop that sold games, and you're just like, these are the games that are out. That's it. That's the only like reference.
And there were only like 10 of them.
Yeah.
You just had to choose one of them.
And you're like, okay, good luck. and then like magazines slowly started coming into
also
circulation.
Game shops were the size of like I'll say like a small cell phone shop. Like they were not like big shops in yet. They were also just like a small part of music.
It's just like a hooky, yeah. Music would just have like a stand basically.
Rest in peace.
Oh, shame.
Good times.
But now speaking about that is like our game of the year segment where we pick our own game of the year, and it's kind of like games that we just feel like deserve the love. And I actually want to start with somebody who made the most popular choice here, the most well-known game. That's Saeed.
I went for Tekken 3. It technically didn't come out in 1997 on consoles, but in 1997 it came out in the arcades. So I said that it still counts because that's when the game came out.
That's fair.
Everybody here has good experiences with Tekken 3.
I mean, of course.
Yeah.
It's one of the best games. Like I don't know if it's really one of the best games, but when we played it, it was one of the best games ever. I don't know how it holds up. Everybody tried Eddie's moves. Everybody fell.
Everyone could play with Eddie. That is the other thing. If Eddie was the Mandela of Tekken. He gave us hope. He let us all feel like we were a part of it. You let us all feel like if I just try my best, I will be successful. I can clock the game.
You can. You gave us hope. You gave us freedom. But like, yeah, do you think it still holds up? Have you played it recently?
I haven't played it in at least no, we played it when we did our arcade episode. We played it in the arcade.
Yeah. Do you think it holds up?
I don't know. It was just fun to be out and doing something. So anything you play in the arcade is always going to be fun. I feel like when you go to an arcade, you don't care about if the game is good or not. It's just like you paid your R4 for the game. You're going to play that.
You left the house.
R4.
Yeah, it makes sense. I also feel like Tekken 1 isn't real. Like Tekken 1 doesn't exist. I've seen it once and I was like, it wasn't a thing. Tekken 2 was iconic because it has on, I'll say, the consoles.
Yeah.
And then Tekken 3, we were still living off. Tekken 3 is actually Tekken 2.
Yeah, okay, yeah. If you're gonna be technical like that, yeah, then Tekken 3 is like Tekken 2.
Because it gave us the hype, it gave us a story. It also had dope CGI, like the cutscenes.
Yeah, it looked like real, like it started looking real.
And then we had martial law also that could do a double backflip.
But also they started adding game modes, and I'm not sure if they added in Tekken Bowling, but I know they had Tekken Force in there. Yeah. Which was like the
chicken.
Yes. And your bra steals the chicken and you're like, yo, nah, my
Yes, Tekken Bowling was in 3 also, I think.
And I just think they had so many characters who became staples of the series. And like every other fighting game, like we mentioned, Mortal Kombat 4, as well as an honorable mention, all of that started shifting to like this 3D style and not doing it well. But Tekken like nailed it. Like
Who was your favorite non-mainstream character in Tekken?
Aurang.
The kicking fiend.
That's the guy that I always play with. So.
I mean, I don't know if he's mainstream or not, but I like Yoshimitsu.
Oh, he's definitely not mainstream.
The robot ninja, you could just kill himself as well mid-game if you...
Oh, yes, you could
also...
And then you could still spin and like kill yourself more.
Yeah. That spinning move.
Yo, I don't know, is Law a mainstream?
I feel like Law is a mainstream. Law is a mainstream because you could pick him and also go, if I button bash enough with enough rhythm, you could catch it.
Yo, that's a tough one. Maybe like Brian. I like Brian.
Oh yeah.
Brian Long.
No, he was like that white day. He was the cyborg. the kickboxing style. It's
His-
a crazy,
his
bruh.
cutscenes were always like him breaking out of prison and ripping the things
Yes.
off the
Yes.
tank and, like,
Yes, I remember him.
yeah.
I actually enjoyed King as my fourth or fifth choice, but I always had fun with him because he had the grappling moves.
Yeah.
And also, if you at the same, he was the closest to wrestling that we could get at
Yeah.
the time because the wrestling games were fun and shit at the same
And
time.
he had the best outfit.
He did.
He
He
had
did.
Yeah.
fire fits.
That's
He
actually
did.
true.
He had all the drip in that game. Yeah, that grey. Was it that? No, it was a blue and white.
Armor King had the grey.
Yeah.
Because he
No,
had the grey
but he-
face and then like the
He had
spiky.
like the tracksuit pants.
Yes, that's the one I'm
sneakers
talking about.
And like the top.
Yeah,
Must
it
go
was
find
so
that
That
sneakers.
baby dragon.
Gone.
gone.
That's
He
him.
was
And the
terrible.
panther.
What about Gone?
Gone and Dr.
Dr.
Boskonovic.
Boskonovic, I was about to
It
say.
was
he just had
horrible.
He just had heart attacks in the middle of
He
the,
just
of the
be like-
game.
Bro is like having seizures mid game and you're just like, yo, is this his moveset? Like, what does that do? Pull
But it felt, like
911.
it felt like you actually achieved something if you win a fight because he's half the fight on the floor.
And his Mokujin was
Man
everybody
collected
else.
Sasa and then also collected the W's and the L's in the same fight.
And Mokujin. Mokujin was the three that was just everybody else. It was like the lottery of like,
But that was a horrible fight to play with him because you'd need to be passing everybody's moveset.
yeah,
to get it right.
you'd have to, like if you wanted to like really humiliate somebody, pick him, nah, or Dr. Boskonovic, but you must know how to trick with him.
Wasn't there also the dragon in there?
Yeah, he mentioned God.
No, not Gone.
There was a devil.
There was ogre and there was
Ogre.
true
Ogre.
ogre.
Oh yes, Ogre and True Ogre also.
Who blew the fire and stuff.
Yeah, which also felt like quite a cheat because you took up so much space on the screen every time you
And
moved.
blocked the breath from moving. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you must stay there. But let's move on to another game of the year choice. Okay, we go with Brad. Brad, what was you went with?
I went
Curse
for
of Monkey Island. You
Curse
actually
of
have a
Monkey
game.
Island.
What
Still in my life to this day.
I know a little bit about this game, but I've never played it, so you're gonna have to paint us
Tell
a
us.
picture.
So, I mean, I'll paint a picture of when I first started playing it, where I first found it. I was at a friend's house and I saw the CD cover, just exactly like that. And I'm like, I asked him, what is this? Can we play it? And he was just like, nah, it's a bit boring actually. Let's not play it. And then I think I borrowed it from him. And as soon as I started playing it, I'm like, mind blown. Because it was my first ever point and click like adventure game. And that was cool that you didn't just move the characters with the keyboard or WSAD or whatever. You had to click and you walked where you clicked. And I'm like, what the hell? And also just the art style as well. Like it looked like a cartoon. You were playing a cartoon
yeah.
basically.
That is something I know. Like it had a very distinct art style.
But also it's funny. The characters are cool. And the cool thing about it, I think, is that so this is the third game in the Monkey Island series, but it was my first one. And you don't have to have played the first two to know what's going on in this one. It helps, obviously, because the characters were established before, but this could be a standalone game if you wanted it to be. But it did then make me go back and play the first two before this, which are completely different in terms of art style, but it's still point and click adventure and still funny. But this one for me was the one that got me into the genre as well, which is why I chose it.
What does that teach you? Don't judge a game by its
Cover.
cover. That's so the disc art. That's
But
essentially what Brad is teaching us.
Brad is teaching us also like don't judge a game by the first 10 minutes that you play.
Or by what your friends say about the game.
Yeah. So while you watch this, don't trust us. Just go home and play whatever game you want. That's essentially what we're telling you right now.
But also I wanted to ask you, is it like, so it's mainly like a puzzler to my understanding. Like you're solving essentially like,
Yeah,
You're
in
going on
order
this
to
one.
progress to the next phase, in order to get to this character, in order to get to the next disc, because it came on 2 discs, you had to solve a puzzle. It's always solving a puzzle to get you to solve a puzzle to get you to solve a puzzle.
to kind of find treasure and stuff. And
Kind of.
yeah, that's how I imagine, because it's like a pirate team.
It's a pirate game.
I feel like
You had to like think outside of the box.
A lot of
for
the
some
time,
the
yeah.
stuff, huh?
I mean, listen, I won't lie. I finished this game with the help of a walkthrough because some of the stuff, especially maybe not this game, the previous two, the first ones that came out on DOS, it's impossible to progress without a walkthrough, honestly, because you have to think out of the box and stuff. And
I wonder if the people who made the game ever was like, yeah, we need to release this book with the game because it must leak
Probably.
somewhere because no one's gonna be able to finish the game.
Because I like that's also another thing that companies used to do is release official walkthroughs, because it's like,
yeah.
hey, they're not gonna figure this out by themselves. So
Yeah, you need to give
you
them,
need to help them.
if they're struggling too much, you need to be able to help them at the same time. But I also feel like this game and this style is the basis of Resident Evil. And maybe that's why you like Resident Evil so
Maybe
much.
that's why I like
This
it.
is a psychology session now that we're walking out.
That's possible.
Games.
The
perhaps
puzzling
game system.
elements are coming together.
But also going into one room and going, does this room need? What's the actual puzzle?
Yeah.
this room
Do you know what
wants?
the cool thing about this game is? It's like it gives you an island. So it's not just a room. You might have to go into a room on one side of the island and pick something up, and that'll help you in a room or a place on the other side of the island. So you constantly have to be going between places to like find something to open this, to go in there, to find something to open a door on this side, or to unlock a new. Because the cool thing about this game as well is you have dialogue options, so you can choose what to say, and you always have to keep speaking to characters to unlock maybe a piece of information that they know that would help you to get to another point in the game and stuff. It's so good.
That's dope. It's like a lot of trial and error.
And also for 1997, this is also like mind blowing if you think of like how advanced the game was.
It reminds me very much of like games like Myst and Riven, but
It's
like
exactly the same. Well,
but a lot more fun because
Yes.
that was very like intense. It felt like an intense puzzle that you were trying to solve.
Yeah.
So I imagine this to be like a more fun, accessible,
And
kind
also
of
a
game.
clean version of Leisure Suit Larry. Because I feel like it's the same thing of its puzzles in different rooms across the whole town, but it is just less sex jokes.
Do you know, like one last thing is that, ironically, this game, so the first two games were made by a team of people. This one and number 4 and 5 were made by completely different people. And then number 6, which came out recently, I think I've got the numbering right there, was made by the same people who made the first two games. So they bought the rights back. So they sold the rights after the first two games.
That's wild.
Then a couple of people made the next 3. So Curse of Monkey Island, Escape from Monkey Island, and Tales of Monkey Island. And then the same people bought the rights back for the game. And then, so the 6th game is actually the 3rd game in that canon.
That's wild.
So Fast and Furious.
Basically.
Yeah.
100%.
And what's the reviews on that one, on the new one?
I really liked it. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. It's back to the old school kind of pixel art. No, it's not pixel art at all. But it's very stripped down art style as well, like the first two games. And it's almost the same camera angles. It's also point and click. So they definitely kind of got the soul back of the game. Not that the middle 3 weren't bad, but they kind of got the soul back of the first 2 games. It's really good. And it's on Xbox Game Pass for free. So if you have that, check it out.
Go play it for your childhood. Go do the things.
I still bought it though. Like I still bought it on PC when it first came out. Because I don't it's a PC game first and foremost. It's console's cool, but it's cool to have the mouse to point and click.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I hated console games where you needed to use the joystick as a mouse.
Yeah, it's not.
It just didn't.
It's not optimal.
Command and Conquer, horrible on PlayStation.
Warcraft was so not
Even
great.
there was a music game also that used the mouse as the analog stick as a mouse. Music 2000, I think.
It's possible, yeah.
And it was just a horrible experience. Give me rather like clicking with the controller.
So Yaaseen, now on to our choice because we chose the same game, and that is Tomb Raider 2. Because I think that was the first Tomb Raider we played, and like
it's more the first Tomb Raider you played because I watched you play the game. That's why I chose it for my game of the year.
So you're coming to hate on me?
Yes, the only reason I'm on this podcast right now is to hate on Shadley because we used to go to Shadley's house and Shadley's like, "Oh, come, I'll show you this level." Then we sat for hours just watching Shadley. It was the same like watching Cybernet or just watching a video on YouTube. We just watched like this. Shadley had live streaming at his house. He used to live stream the games and just
To
let
an
us sit on the
audience.
couch and watch him.
I was
play the game.
live streaming before live streaming was even a known quantity.
But Tomb Raider was quite epic as well. Just in terms of, I feel like what the magnitude of the history of the game, of like what we have now as games, is based on what that game gave us.
Yeah, like I feel like Tomb Raider 2, like for me, my first experience with that was like, it evolved from like the platformer. You know, you had like Mario, Donkey Kong, all of that. And it kind of incorporated that puzzle elements, action elements, and created this massive adventure. And it was like, like, I mean, even the first stage, you were like, why is this so big? Like, what's going on here? Because they just throw you in and they're like, there you go, solve it for
It
yourself.
was also one of those games where you thought it was just like real world and like normal, how can I say, like normal things in the normal world. And then at one point, oh, there's mysticism.
Yes.
And there's
yes.
powers and there's a guy that's like bigger than normal. And
These dragons, you like, what is this now? Why am I fighting a dragon?
was part 2 also the one with the butler?
Yes, so there was that training level. And this is something I know we all did, is like, we locked him in the freezer. I don't know why, but there was some sociopathic tendencies going on for us to try and lock him and kill him in the freezer.
If you play Tomb Raider 2, that was, I feel like in the official walkthrough, they were like, that was a sub game too.
Like, can you catch him there? Like, you must get him to the back and then jump over and then go push the button and like
Right, and you must start, the timing must be perfect on the thing.
and then you just see him walking and they're clipping through the fridge door.
freezer door with his tray.
You're like, you dying there. But he never died.
Did Tomb Raider 2 also give us a backflip, I think?
Yes.
You could jump off, you could scale walls as well. So is it?
It also had like a swan dive as well. But it was just like the amount of things you could do was just wild.
Yeah.
And it was also, you were talking about like Monkey Island where it's like you have all these puzzles and they all are kind of interconnected. Tomb Raider is also like similar in that it's like you had to find things that you didn't know you had to find to open like doors and like gates.
Action puzzler.
Yeah, it was like proper, like you had to think your way through and it was difficult. And you had limited saves. Because remember you had that like, you had like save crystals and you could only save a number of
Totally
times.
forgot about that.
So, and then you hope that you don't save just before you die because we know that happened a
And
lot.
Lara Croft also, I think as a character, we can say it now and people know who it is.
Yeah.
You go like there's a big percentage of the modern world that when you say the name, you go, that's who it is. Like that's how iconic that game was. While the other, what was Game of the Year for 97?
I mean,
GoldenEye.
While GoldenEye is established because it's James Bond, I do feel like Tomb Raider was iconic in what it gave us.
But also because it was PlayStation and PC. So like more people had access to it, I think.
Yeah, that was another
And
big thing.
N64, if you didn't have an N64, which I definitely didn't, and I don't think a lot of people in South Africa did.
Yeah, because they weren't importing.
Yeah,
you had to like literally import it yourself.
So
So
like you only really knew GoldenEye from
By
the
luck.
from the folklore or by luck, exactly.
Yeah.
But now everyone knows Tomb Raider.
And she was like, again, Nintendo had Seamus from Metroid.
Yeah.
It was I'll say a female lead. Tomb Raider was that for us, where and I think that's also, she was of the first that everybody bought into. We've got a female lead that boys and girls want to play with.
yeah, that was also like a big deal. And I mean, it was just like you can see, it was iconic for its time. It sold out. It just grew. And to me personally, out of like the first 4 games, so 1, 2, 3, and then Last Revelation, I think 2 is the best one.
Definitely.
Yeah, so we have Tomb Raider 2 right over here. Very nice. Thank you, Brad.
In a fit case also.
Yeah.
Not a thin verbatim or on a spindle. This is for a real one.
I bought that for 10 Rand at a thrift store.
Yo!
It's also like the Ricochet range. Not like
I think it's supposed to be like an early version of the Platinum.
Yeah, before they knew.
But like Saeed was just mentioning now is like Tomb Raider basically like laid the groundwork for all action puzzlers. Action adventures are also like no Tomb Raider, no modern Tomb Raider, no Uncharted, no Last of Us. That sort of set that benchmark for like the modern action puzzler. And that goes for like a lot of the games here. Saeed, like you had Tekken. Tekken is probably like the second most impactful behind Street Fighter 2 fighting game.
But I think what that said though, Tekken is the basis for modern Street Fighter.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Tekken is the basis for every other, I think, modern fighter.
It's the natural evolution, man. It's like you needed that next big step, and Tekken 3 was like that next big step from Street Fighter 2.
What was the other fighting game that was a 3D fighting game that you played on a platform, and as soon as you stepped off the platform, then you...
Soul Calibur.
Soul Calibur
No,
and
not
Soul
Soul
Edge.
Calibur. There was the other one. It was
Virtua Fighter.
Virtua Fighter.
Yeah, which Tekken like competed and like literally just killed Virtua
Yeah,
Fighter.
see, we didn't know Virtua Fighter really.
Yeah.
But
That was like-
if you say Tekken 3, everyone knows.
Even-
And you
Everybody
can
knows.
name all the characters also. That's
exactly.
fine.
And I mean, like, if I look at, like, Brad, Curse of Monkey Island, that inspired, like, the old puzzle dynamics, like, more modern puzzle dynamics.
I would say, like, in a way it did, but also it's almost a result of the old school LucasArts point and click games, like the first two Monkey Islands, the Indiana Jones games, Day of the Tentacle, and then this was the next step in the evolution, I think, because it became more like visually appealing, I would say, and just kind of easier to play in a way,
Like, more dynamic.
And then, I mean, obviously its sequels all expanded on it. Escape from Monkey Island wasn't the best, the fourth one. But then if you look at all adventure games now going forward, point and click ones especially, they're all inspired by this. I played one recently on Xbox that's like a German game called Trüberbruck. And
I've never heard of that.
No, it was also free on Game Pass. So I'm like, let me give it a go. It looked fun, and it was fun, and you can see the Monkey Island influences on it. And it came out last year or year before last.
Is it in German?
No, it's people speaking with German accents. Maybe I should go here.
That's even worse.
Yeah.
I would argue, like, it must have inspired, like, modern RPG mechanics, like, speaking to NPCs and finding out, like, new clues and things. So it does sort of have that DNA in modern games.
Absolutely.
So then Monkey Island plus Tomb Raider equals Last of Us?
I wouldn't say Last of Us, but, like,
Actually,
Mass Effect, maybe.
having said that, there's a lot of Monkey Island Easter eggs in the Uncharted games. Because
Really?
Neil Druckmann, who did the Uncharted games, is a huge fan of Monkey Island.
Dope.
And also now in the latest Monkey Island game, there's a character there's some reference to The Last of Us in the new Monkey Island game. So they're like they're besties in the industry. And there's a pirate in Uncharted 4. There's a part in Uncharted 4 when you come to like a pirate round table where they're all dead and they're skeletons. There's one that that's dressed like Guybrush Threepwood, the protagonist of the Monkey Island games.
Dope.
I need to play this again.
It's very much like a blink and you'll miss it Easter egg. But as soon as I saw that, I'm like, that's Guybrush Threepwood. And then I researched it, and it's meant to be like a nod to Monkey Island.
I love stuff like that. But guys, I think are we at the end of the first podcast?
Yes. Guys, we've given you the list of games for 1997.
What's yours?
Tell us what is your favorite game that came out in 1997, please.
Like, we know some of you are young. We know some of you were only born in 97 and beyond.
Assholes. But yeah, tell us what you guys enjoyed and tell us if you want more of this. Is it right?
Yeah, I think so.
How do you end a podcast?
I don't
Just
know.
keep quiet.
Play Fallout New Vegas.
I'm Yaaseen Barnes.
I'm Shadley Desai.
I'm Saeed.
I am Brad.
This is Coffee and Controllers. Find us on all the socials and follow us and comment and like and share and subscribe. Bye.